Most people think failure ruins lives. It doesn't. Indecision does. The opportunities you never take. The risks you never accept. The changes you never make. Because doing nothing is still a decision. And every decision has a price. The dangerous part. The cost of staying the same is invisible. You don't feel it today. You don't feel it tomorrow. You don't feel it next month. That's why people ignore it. They keep the same habits. The same routine. The same mindset. And life feels normal. But time keeps moving. Whether you're growing or not. Days become months. Months become years. Years become a lifetime. And little by little, the gap begins to grow. The gap between who you are and who you could have been. Most people never notice it. Until it's too late. Until they wake up one morning and realize they've been living the same year. Over and over again. Different age. Same excuses. Different goals. Same habits. Different dreams. Same actions. That's when reality hits. Not all at once. Slowly. Painfully. Honestly. Because deep down, you know when you're settling. You know when you're capable of more. You know when you're hiding behind comfort. The truth is, potential means nothing without action. Talent means nothing without effort. Dreams mean nothing without movement. Life rewards action. Not intention. Action. Small steps. Small improvements. Small acts of courage. Repeated consistently. That's how lives change. Not in one dramatic moment. In hundreds of ordinary moments. The moment you wake up and choose discipline. The moment you say no to excuses. The moment you stop waiting for the perfect time. Because the perfect time never comes. It never has. It never will. The people who transform their lives understand this. They start before they're ready. They move before they're confident. They act before they're certain. And that's why they grow. While everyone else waits. Remember this. Every day you stay the same. You're paying a price. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually, the bill arrives. And when it does, it asks one question. Who could you have become if you had started sooner? Most people think comfort is protecting them. It isn't. It's trapping them. Slowly. Quietly. Patiently. That's what makes comfort dangerous. It doesn't feel dangerous. It feels safe. Safe to stay where you are. Safe to avoid the risk. Safe to postpone the change. And that's exactly why so many people get stuck. Comfort never asks for much. Just one more day. One more excuse. One more delay. One more tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. Then one day, you realize years have disappeared. Not because life moved too fast. Because you stood still. The truth is, nothing grows inside a comfort zone. Not confidence. Not strength. Not discipline. Those things are built in discomfort. Built when you're challenged. Built when you're uncertain. Built when you're forced to grow. Think about every time you've improved. Every lesson. Every breakthrough. Every achievement. It came from discomfort. Not comfort. Comfort maintains. Discomfort transforms. That's the difference. Most people want a better life. But they don't want to feel uncomfortable. They want confidence without fear. Success without failure. Growth without struggle. Life doesn't work that way. Everything valuable requires discomfort. Every new level demands a new version of you. A stronger version. A wiser version. A more disciplined version. And that version cannot be created by staying where you are. That's why growth feels difficult. Because you're leaving behind an old identity. The old habits. The old mindset. The old excuses. Something has to die. For something better to be born. But most people resist that process. They cling to what's familiar. Even when what's familiar is making them miserable. Because familiarity feels safer than uncertainty. Even when uncertainty is exactly what they need. Read that again. Most people stay in situations they hate. Because they're afraid of situations they don't understand. And that's how dreams die. Not from failure. From hesitation. Not from rejection. From fear. Not from lack of ability. From lack of courage. The courage to step into the unknown. The courage to become someone new. The courage to leave comfort behind. Because comfort has a hidden cost. Every day it keeps you comfortable. It keeps you the same. And every day you stay the same. Your future gets smaller. Your opportunities get fewer. Your potential gets further away. That's the trade. Comfort gives you peace today. And steals possibility tomorrow. So ask yourself. Is your comfort protecting you? Or preventing you? Because one day, the life you want will require a decision. A decision to leave what's familiar. A decision to embrace discomfort. A decision to grow. And when that moment arrives, make sure you're brave enough to choose your future over your comfort. There is something more painful than failure. More painful than rejection. More painful than losing. It's discovering who you could have been. And realizing you never became that person. Think about that. Somewhere inside you, there is another version of your life. A better version. A stronger version. A version built from courage instead of fear. Discipline instead of excuses. Action instead of hesitation. And every day, that version is waiting. Waiting for you to make a decision. Waiting for you to stop settling. Waiting for you to stop accepting less than you're capable of. The tragedy is, most people never meet that version of themselves. Not because they couldn't. Because they never changed. They kept telling themselves, one day I'll start. One day I'll get serious. One day I'll chase my dream. One day I'll become who I know I can be. But one day is a dangerous phrase. Because one day has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. One day becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And next year becomes a lifetime. Then suddenly, the future arrives. And nothing is different. The same habits. The same fears. The same limitations. The same excuses. That's when regret begins to speak. Not loudly. Quietly. It whispers questions. Questions nobody wants to answer. What happened to your potential? What happened to your ambition? What happened to the promises you made to yourself? And deep down, you already know. You waited. You hesitated. You chose comfort. Again and again and again. The frightening thing about staying the same is that it feels harmless. One missed opportunity doesn't seem important. One lazy day doesn't seem important. One excuse doesn't seem important. But life is not built by single moments. Life is built by patterns. And patterns become identities. If you repeat the same habits long enough, they become who you are. If you repeat the same excuses long enough, they become your reality. If you repeat the same fears long enough, they become your future. That's why change matters. Not because change is exciting. Because change interrupts the pattern. It breaks the cycle. It creates a new direction. Every extraordinary life begins with a decision. A decision to stop repeating yesterday. A decision to stop carrying old limitations. A decision to stop living on autopilot. Most people don't need more information. They need a new standard. A new expectation. A new level of responsibility. Because deep down, you already know what needs to change. You know the habit. You know the excuse. You know the behavior. You know the thing you've been avoiding. The issue isn't awareness. The issue is action. Action is what separates dreamers from achievers. Everyone dreams. Few act. Everyone wants more. Few become more. Everyone talks about change. Few commit to it. That's why average is common. Because average requires no change. No sacrifice. No courage. No growth. Just repetition. The same day. Repeated for years. Until life becomes predictable. Until potential disappears. Until the dream fades. Don't let that happen. Don't become a spectator in your own life. Don't spend years watching other people become who they wanted to be, while you stay exactly where you started. Because time is moving. Whether you're ready or not. Whether you're growing or not. Whether you're changing or not. Time keeps moving. And every day, it's asking you a question. Will you become more? Or remain the same? Will you build a future? Or repeat the past? Will you take the risk? Or keep paying the price of comfort? One day, you'll answer those questions with your life. Not your words. Your life. The habits you choose. The standards you keep. The actions you take. That's what creates your future. Nothing else. And one day, you'll either be grateful that you changed, or haunted by the life you never lived. The confidence you never built. The opportunities you never chased. The person you never became. That's the real cost of staying the same. Not the life you're living now. The life you'll never get to experience. The life that was possible. The life that was waiting. The life that could have been yours. If only you had the courage to change. Nobody plans to waste their potential. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to stay stuck. I want to settle. I want to spend my life becoming less than I'm capable of. And yet, that's exactly what happens. Not because people are lazy. Because they're comfortable. Comfort is a trap. Not because it feels bad. Because it feels good. That's what makes it dangerous. The prison doesn't look like a prison. It looks like convenience. It looks like routine. It looks like security. At first, comfort feels like a reward. You avoid the hard conversation. You avoid the difficult challenge. You avoid the uncomfortable decision. And immediately, you feel relief. That's why comfort is addictive. It rewards you instantly. Growth doesn't. Growth asks for patience. Comfort offers immediate relief. And most people choose relief. Again. And again. And again. Until relief becomes a lifestyle. Then the lifestyle becomes a limitation. The limitation becomes an identity. And the identity becomes a destiny. That's how people get trapped. Not overnight. One comfortable decision at a time. The scary part. You can spend years inside this trap without realizing it. Because nothing dramatic happens. Life simply stops moving forward. Your dreams remain dreams. Your goals remain goals. Your plans remain plans. Everything stays exactly where it is. Including you. That's the hidden danger. When you're constantly comfortable, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you slowly start shrinking. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You become smaller than your potential. Smaller than your purpose. Smaller than your future. That's why growth feels uncomfortable. Growth demands expansion. Expansion demands change. And change demands courage. Most people want the rewards of courage, without ever being courageous. They want confidence, without facing fear. They want success, without risking failure. They want transformation, without changing anything. Life doesn't work that way. You cannot become someone new while repeating the habits of the old you. Something must change. Your standards, your mindset, your actions, your environment. Something. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Read that again. If nothing changes, nothing changes. The future doesn't improve by accident. It improves through decisions, through discipline, through action. Most people know what they should do. The problem isn't knowledge. The problem is comfort. Comfort convinces them they have more time. Comfort tells them tomorrow is guaranteed. Comfort tells them they can start later. But later is a lie. Because later eventually becomes never. And never is where dreams go to die. One day, you'll either thank yourself for being brave, or you'll wish you had been. You'll either be grateful you embraced discomfort, or regret that you stayed comfortable. That's the choice. Not between easy and hard. Between growth and regret. Between possibility and limitation. Between becoming more, or staying the same. And every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're making that choice. Most people think regret arrives at the end of life. It doesn't. It arrives in moments. Quiet moments. Unexpected moments. Moments when life slows down long enough for the truth to catch up. Maybe it's your birthday. Maybe it's a random morning. Maybe it's late at night when everything is silent. And suddenly, you start thinking. Thinking about the years that passed. The opportunities you ignored. The goals you abandoned. The promises you broke to yourself. And for the first time, there are no distractions left. No excuses. No noise. Just truth. The truth about who you became. And the truth about who you could have become. That's when it hits you. Not like a storm. Like a weight. A heavy realization sitting on your chest. The realization that time never stopped moving. Even when you did. The realization that life kept changing. Even when you didn't. The realization that every year you delayed growth. The gap became larger. The gap between reality and potential. Between action and intention. Between the life you lived. And the life that was possible. That's a painful thing to face. Because deep down, most people already know. They know where they settled. They know where they gave up. They know where they chose comfort. Again. And again. And again. The hardest person to lie to is yourself. You can convince the world. You can create excuses. You can blame circumstances. But eventually, you'll sit alone with your choices. And in that moment, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. That's why personal responsibility is so powerful. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take your power back. No more blaming. No more waiting. No more hoping things magically improve. Just ownership. And ownership changes everything. Because when your future becomes your responsibility, your actions change. Your standards change. Your mindset changes. You stop acting like a victim of life and start acting like the architect of it. That's the moment transformation begins. Not when motivation arrives. When responsibility arrives. Most people spend years searching for motivation. But motivation is unreliable. Responsibility is not. Motivation comes and goes. Responsibility stays. Responsibility wakes up early. Responsibility keeps promises. Responsibility acts even when feelings disappear. And that's why responsibility creates results. One day, you'll meet the person your choices created. The person built by your habits. The person built by your standards. The person built by your daily actions. The question is, will you be proud of that person? Will you respect that person? Will you admire that person? Or will you wonder what could have been? Because that meeting is coming. For all of us. The future version of you is being built right now. By today's decisions. Today's effort. Today's discipline. Not tomorrow's. Today's. And that's why this moment matters. More than you think. Because years from now, you won't remember every detail of this day. But you'll live with the consequences of what you chose to do with it. That's the truth. Every day is either building your future or stealing from it. Every habit is either creating freedom or creating regret. Every decision is either moving you forward or keeping you stuck. And one day, when you look back at this chapter of your life, you'll be grateful you changed, or you'll wish you had. The choice has always been yours. Your potential is a gift. But it's also a responsibility. Because once you know you're capable of more, ignoring that truth becomes painful. Deep down, you already know. You know there's another level waiting for you. A stronger version. A wiser version. A more disciplined version. The version that shows up. The version that follows through. The version that refuses to settle. The question is, will you meet that person? Or spend your life wondering what could have been? Because potential means nothing by itself. Potential does not change your life. Action does. Potential does not create success. Discipline does. Potential does not build the future. Daily choices do. That's why so many people struggle. They fall in love with possibility, but avoid responsibility. They love imagining a better life, but refuse to become the person that life requires. And eventually, the dream fades. Not because it was impossible, because it was neglected. Every dream needs action. Every goal needs effort. Every future needs sacrifice. There is no other way. The life you want is not hiding from you. It's waiting for you. Waiting for better habits. Waiting for higher standards. Waiting for greater discipline. Waiting for a decision. One decision. The decision to stop settling. The decision to stop postponing your future. The decision to stop living beneath your potential. Because every year you delay growth, the cost increases. Every year you postpone change, the price becomes heavier. Not in money, in regret, in missed opportunities, in unrealized potential, in the life you never lived. That's the real tragedy. Not failure. Not mistakes. Not setbacks. The real tragedy is reaching the end and discovering you had so much more to give, so much more to become, so much more to experience. Don't let that be your story. Don't spend your life watching your potential collect dust. Use it. Build it. Test it. Challenge it. Turn it into something real. Because one day, the opportunity to change will disappear. One day, the time you're wasting today will become the time you wish you had back. One day, the future will become the present. And when that day arrives, you will either be proud of the person you became, or haunted by the person you never became. That's the choice. That's the cost. That's the price of staying the same. So start now. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when fear disappears. Not when motivation arrives. Now. Take the step. Make the change. Raise the standard. Become the person your future is waiting for. Because the most expensive thing in life is not failing. It's never becoming who you are capable of being. And that price is far too high to pay.